I trust that you have disgustingly good taste in video games if you've played these 5 games. Puzzle Game Edition. Riven is the sequel to one of the most influential puzzle games of all time, Myst. Riven polished and refined the already astounding design of its predecessor. This is a seminal work in how puzzle games integrate narrative and world building into their puzzle design, where you're not just looking for lock and key solutions, but rather to understand the histories of this strange world and the alien logics behind them. What I love about puzzle games is that the best ones can only be experienced as a video game and not in any other medium, and that spark of genius you feel when you solve a puzzle just can't be replicated. I don't think there's any better example of this than Baba Is You. You play as a rabbit named Baba, and the game revolves around you changing the meaning of different phrases to alter the logic of the game itself. This game will cause you to question the rules and functions of pretty much every other video game you play and why they play the way they do. It will ask you to deconstruct what you know to be true about video game design and rebuild it in ways that you never would have imagined possible before playing this game. Outer Wilds is the evolution of everything that made Riven so special. It took the narrative and cultural elements that underpin Riven's world building and combined them with a complete inversion of traditional video game design conventions. Have you ever played a game that required you to learn basic quantum physics to beat it? Or how about how to manipulate the buoyancy of water? Did you ever think you would never be able to figure it out, only to then do it and feel like a complete genius? The planets they've designed in this game and the puzzles woven into their unusual design makes this one of the most memorable and unique gaming experiences I've ever had. The previous 3 games all have finite worlds, but what about a puzzle game that's world is fundamentally different every time you play it? I think Blueprints takes the biggest swing we've seen since Outer Wilds at undermining the traditional puzzle game design format by having the world and the number of puzzles you have access to fundamentally change with every run. And yet it still manages to ground itself in a fantasy story rife with intrigue that acts as the threading between these different puzzles and rooms throughout the manor. Blueprints is essentially 2 puzzle games stacked on top of each other, one about the puzzles in the manor itself, and one about unraveling the buried history of your people that's trapped in the seams between these puzzles. And lastly, it would be sacrilegious of me to not include Portal 2 on this list. Despite being one of the more linear puzzle games on this list, its initial conceit of not just manipulating how you move through space with portals, but how the space itself moves through portals is such a fascinating and interesting concept. Again, it's one of those puzzles that can only be experienced through the medium of video games, and one that's so simple in its conceit, but so complex in its execution. Let me know how disgustingly good your taste is in the comments.